We at OrthoHub are excited to be hosting this global webinar with the International Orthopaedic Diversity Alliance. We have many shared goals, so it's a privilege to be partnering up today. Many of you are new to OrthoHub, so just briefly, you can find us online at www.orthohub.xyz, where our goal is to provide freely accessible interactive orthopedic education for all. We are across all the social media platforms, so please do follow us there. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's quite a lot of brand new video content.
So Ben has commented that there has been a wellbeing and burnout survey across the UK, and the results have shown that it seems as if women, BAME and LGBTQ have a higher rate of burnout. So do the panel think that's because of additional pressures of the culture, being predominantly male and white within orthopaedics, or are there other factors at play here? And I'll open that question to the panel.
Caroline, I would say regarding the issues for women and minorities, a lot of it is that relates to the term of microaggression. Small things that happen on a day-to-day basis that make people feel not included or challenge them in their workplace. And one idea I read recently about this was, one microaggression is like a very small paper cut, but if you're getting thousands of them, you end up exsanguinating. So, it's just a cumulative effect of environments, and I think those environments are improving, but I suspect that this is part of the problem.
That's really interesting, and I think that's a really good point. And any other viewpoints from across the world from our international panel?
I think it also, at least for women, feel like we have to work twice as hard. Maybe we probably do have to work twice as hard to get the same things that a privileged man might get. And I'm sure the same is true of minorities. So, that's less sleep every night. That's less family time. That's more frustration. And I think those things all build up. Even if the expectations are us on ourselves, but I think they're both us on ourselves and others on us.
I think that's a very good point.
I agree with both Laurie and Jenny there. I think that's true. I think certainly the culture has a role to play. And I think, as you say, we always feel that we have to be better. And we're sort of firefighting all the time, if you like, at work and at home, because we're trying to juggle so many different roles and different balls at the same time that itself is quite stressful. So, yeah.
Thank you, Deepa. And then another question is, how can you challenge harsh judgments of females compared to males in assessments?
Sorry.
Go on, Deepa.
I was going to say that's really interesting, actually. So we, in our local region, there's been quite a bit of sort of concern about bias in the ARCP process. And so this is something that we are actively looking into in our region, and I know that it's come up in other regions as well. So for those who don't know, the ARCP process is the annual review of competence progression for the registrars as they move from year to year. It's their annual review, and it has been noticed that there is bias in that process, and it's very interesting because I think a lot of it is unconscious again. So it's about all the things that we were saying about making sure that the panels are properly trained in equality, diversity, and unconscious bias. That's a really big part of it, I think.
Thank you, Deepa. Ron, have you got any viewpoints from across the pond?
Yeah, I think in part of my talk, there was that allusion to standardized letters of recommendation and assessments in the same way. If they can become more standardized so that there's less of a judgmental approach, but more of an approach that allows for responses that kind of put all of the people being assessed in a similar way to be measured, I think that can go a long way toward decreasing conscious and unconscious bias.
Thank you, Ron. And I think Carrie's also brought up a very good point that it may well be because of the COVID pandemic and the effects on childcare and having to homeschool, putting additional pressures on parents and making it very difficult to juggle career and home lifestyle. So thank you.
A question, Caroline, of Vivian. Yeah. Is it still largely a choice between career forfeiting the opportunity to have a family if you go into orthopedics in Asia?
I would not say so. I think this is more of personal choice, whether a woman wants to get married or not, even if she's a surgeon. I mean, this is not really felt, not very obvious in Malaysia. Many of my colleagues are married. The minorities are actually the single women. So many of us have learned how to juggle very well and multitask along the way. And I have not come across a big problem in Malaysia. I know this because many of the young women, they were trainees, and they've gone through our department and also hospital. Not an obvious problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Could I just add one other comment about the judging of women? I think there are a lot of unconscious biases around judging people to be self-confident or not, and that is often interpreted as lacking the way women present compared to the way men present. Often our trainees have been told that they don't seem to be confident, and a lot of this bias is just understanding the way women may present a little differently to men. And also even for minorities, people will feel more confident if they're in an environment where they feel part of that community and well supported. But if they're a minority, they're not often going to present as very self-confident. So just being aware of situations and those unconscious biases, I think, is quite important in the way we assess our trainees.
That's a really good point. Thank you, Jenny. And then we've got another question from the audience. Is anyone directly addressing sexual harassment in orthopaedics with training directed specifically towards the aggressor rather than towards how to cope with it? And the audience feels that this seems to be a very common issue within the specialty, but a sensitive subject to approach. Would anyone like to take that question? It's a hard one to answer.
I can't say I've been directly involved, so I don't feel I have anything to offer on that question. I don't know if Andrew has, in his roles at AOA, been involved in any discussions.
Not directly. I mean, I think it's probably underreported. And I can certainly see how it is a potential issue that people aren't particularly well aware of. I mean, certainly if any issues like that were brought to our attention, we would be very much looking at supporting whoever made who brought the issue to our attention, and then speaking very much directly to the person that had been involved with it. But I haven't been involved with it personally, no.
Within my organization, there's a expectation of an annual review of a principles of responsibility, and it touches on these topics, and certainly there's a means by which to adjudicate concerns, and the aggressor is dealt with in a fashion that would be seen as appropriate. Certainly, these issues are tough too, because there is the confidentiality of the accused. So many times the accuser does not know what eventually occurred to the accused, and there was retribution found, and a measure of discipline and re-education, but you can't always share with the people who
I think we've lost the connection to Ron. So I hope that answers the question from the audience. Again, there are structures within all of the hospitals where we work, which you can also approach if you're unfortunate enough to be in that situation. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for this first in a series of 3 webinars, and there will be another 2 which will be advertised, and a special thanks to our international faculty, some of whom have stayed up past their bedtime to give some really interesting talks. So it's great to see everyone together today, and I hope to see you all in a few weeks for the next in our series of webinars. Please check out the IODA website and please join. It's free to join, and there's absolutely no bar on whichever stage you are in your career. We're just trying to encourage everyone to join orthopaedics because it's by far the best specialty. So thank you all, and we'll draw the webinar to a close. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you, OrthoHub too. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.